attitude problem when I was probably from 15 to 27, which is a big time in my life. A lot of men have attitude problems. It's nothing new. But what I realized behind my attitude problem was that I never wanted to make a decision with my attitude that was going to land me in jail. Because I always knew no matter how mad I was or how mad somebody got at me or how bad somebody talked to me, jail was going to be way worse.
What's the name of Uncle Poochie's podcast?
6 Feet Under.
6 Feet Under podcast.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Whenever this message reaches you, listen to another episode of 6 Feet Under podcast. I am your 5'9" host with sophisticated ignorance, Uncle Poochie. That's funny, man. It's actually really funny because I used to do that all the time. But before I get in front of myself, I have a guest, as always. Got a family member to the dinner table. You know, we always bring it around, man. We always bring it around. My family members are talented people. Today, we have a man who is not just an artist, but he's a man of many talents. Before I get any deeper into that, I'm going to let him step up to the mic. My brother, tell the people who you are.
What's up? It's your boy. It's your boy Laverd, L-U-V-E-R-D. That's how you pronounce it. That's how you spell it. You know what I'm saying? I'm a producer / rapper / artist / entrepreneur / father / everything. You know what I'm saying? I'm like primetime lightweight. You know what I'm saying? See? If you don't know what primetime is, y'all gotta Google that.
If you don't know what primetime is, you're too young to talk to us, first and foremost. I mean, I'm gonna be real with you. We're not talking about 7 o'clock. Okay, we're talking about actual prime time. But thank you, Laverd. Thank you for coming to the dinner table, bro. Thank you for coming to 6 Minute Podcast. I think the internet is a cool place because if I didn't have it, I would have never met this brother. You know what I'm saying? And I don't remember the time frame of when we met, but I do remember when I like called Ivy. I was like, man, this brother is talented. Like, damn, dog, I gotta have him on my show. So thank you, bro, for making our time, breaking our time, and coming to the 6 Minute Podcast, brother. I appreciate that.
No, I appreciate you and thank you for having me on, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I like what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate that, bro. Obviously, I like what you're doing. That's why I have you here. You see my boy out here, my guy, got the whole wilderness in the background. Looking good, bro. If y'all not looking at us on YouTube right now, Bert is in he's in an area of California that is very beautiful. And I think that was one of the reasons why me and his brother were able to even get in touch. Because obviously, I don't think I'd be seeing like a lot of people in the forest, or maybe I'm tripping. Do black people be in the forest like that, my bro?
Man, you'd be surprised. It'd
Really?
be like the Negroes that's really low key. You know what I'm saying? Sticking to themselves, just trying to handle their business and maintain their priorities, you know?
Yeah.
That wild and shit, none of that irresponsibility shit, you know what I'm saying? And they just like peace. I like peace, you know? So that's another reason why I'm up here, you know?
You know what? Thank you for giving us the first topic of what we finna get into of many we're gonna talk about. But you said peace. You like peace. I ain't gonna hold you. I love peace now too. And now that I just turned 30 last year, I realized that peace is finna be around for a very long time for me. If you do not give me peace, you will be peace the hell out.
You gotta go.
Got to go.
If you with that toxic bullshit, you gotta get up out of here, man.
Gotta get out of here. And then the crazy thing about it is, again, with like me saying turning 30, like obviously that's just the age, you know, because not everybody like has to mature at the same time. But it was like something about when I turned 27, I started looking up and I was like, I don't think I like this. I don't think I like none of this. And that was crazy because at the time I didn't realize I was working towards my peace. And as a black man, I think that can be a little bit difficult. I'm pretty sure you can relate to me because sometimes we don't really get the definition of peace. I'm gonna say we get the definition of peace. We don't really get shown peace of mind in a light that I think we should be gravitating to at a young age. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Oh no, definitely. Like when you're young, especially, I'm gonna just speak for myself, but I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that can relate. Yeah, man, when you're young and you're in, I don't know what you would say, in urban areas, or if you're in the culture or whatnot, when it comes to like hip hop or rap or whatever, just in the culture in general, man, even when you're on the internet, it's a lot of toxic shit that's pumped into your psyche. And that shit takes a toll on you mentally, physically, and that shit and stress can literally kill you. So, like you, man, I'm telling you, it's niggas that's our age that already got, ain't got no hair, bro, from just strictly stress. Niggas got gray hairs and all kind of shit. So, with me, it's just like, I don't want to be sitting in a situation where I'm stressed out, trying to figure out what I'm gonna do with my life. I'm stressed out because of my family and my situation. You know, sometimes the best thing you could do for yourself is just to get up and leave, go see the world, or get up and relocate and appreciate the world for what it is, because it's so much more than just your neighborhood. It's so much more than just the city you live in. You know, it's a big ass planet out there. Get your passport, get going, going to see different countries, see how other people live. It broadens your horizon. It also opens your mind, man. It actually helps you become more intellectual too. And there's nothing wrong. A lot of people be like, oh, this nigga's a square, man. Oh, he's a nerd, nigga. No, there's nothing wrong with any of that shit, bro. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make you less of a man. It doesn't make you a pussy. It doesn't make you a mark. It doesn't make you a sucker, bro. You got to think like Huey P. Newton. That nigga had a fucking whole ass PhD from the University of Santa Cruz, but that nigga was gangster as fuck, and he was smart as fuck too.
And
look at Malcolm X too. Malcolm X also.
Oh man, let me tell you something. One of the things I love, I don't actually know who made this quote up, so I'm not going to quote the person I heard who said it. But one of my favorite quotes about Malcolm X is Malcolm X was Detroit Red. Detroit Red is Malcolm X, and a lot of people don't realize that. You know, outside of just if you watch the movie. You know, it's like a little small portion of him being Detroit Red, and then he's Malcolm X. But if you read the book, he is Detroit Red for a very, very long time.
Very long time.
He is Detroit Red for a very, very long time. And it took him going to jail, and his own brother. In the movie, it's a man he meets in jail. But in the book, it's his own brother who has come to him and is like, man, you are messing up. Okay, and you got to stop. And that's one of the things that I feel like with this generation, at least people our age, we will be one of the first generations to show the whole entire growth, because you got the cameras, you know what I'm saying? And you were, you know, before I was Uncle Poochie, I was just Keeper Bernard Johnson Jr. running around with a snotty nose in Sacramento, you know, and people gonna remember that. And heck, I'll show them, because I want people to know there is power in progression. There's power in growth. Like you said, leave your neighborhood, leave your town, leave your city, leave your state. Hell, I don't care where you go. All right. You know, I went to 5 different elementary schools, 3 different middle schools, and almost 4 high schools. And not saying that was a great thing, but damn, that made me realize one thing. People are diverse. And it doesn't matter where you are, Mark, here, you are heralded as an educated person over here. It's all about your perception of your reality and your society. But LeVert, the hard part about that, I would say, as a black man, is trying to keep it real and stay true to yourself while also progressing. They don't teach us that. They don't teach us that, because I'm a child of the Boondocks. I'm sure you've probably seen the show yourself. But keeping it real goes wrong real quickly.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you slam them doors and you in that jail cell, no one cares that you kept it real.
I don't wish jail on nobody, bro.
No one.
That shit, to be honest with you, man, I really figure on my personal perspective, I think prison is worse than death, bro. To be honest with you, man. Because it's like you're dead on the outside world, but you're locked up like an animal, bro. You know, and then you have other people that try to impose their will on you, and you really don't have a way to self-defend yourself. And if you do self-defend yourself, they just add more time to your sentence anyway.
Yep.
So it's like it's a catch-22. It's like once you're in there, you're stuck. You're a slave, bro. And I'm not with that shit at all for anybody. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Period.
No. You know, the thing about it is, I was joking with my girlfriend about this yesterday, and you know, in finding peace, I had to learn to control my own attitude. Like, I had an attitude problem. I'm the first one to admit to people. Now, at my big age of 30, I had an attitude problem when I was probably from 15 to 27, which is a big time in my life. A lot of men have attitude problems. It's nothing new. But what I realized behind my attitude problem was that I never wanted to make a decision with my attitude that was going to land me in jail. Because I always knew, no matter how mad I was, or how mad somebody got at me, or how bad somebody talked to me, jail was going to be way worse than responsibilities that, you know, than the words or whatever came behind it. But then again, I understand that. Some people don't understand that. You see, they don't use that logic because they weren't born with that logic. And that's why I'm going to get into with you next. Now, I don't know your opinion on this, but my opinion is this, because we talked about this in pre-production. I went to college. I went to UC Davis. It's for you all who don't know where that's at. It's in the city called Davis, in Northern California. It's the school I'm always talking about, and I'm like, it's no big deal. The reason why I say,
no, I'm just saying that Davis is like what, 15 minutes outside of Sacramento. It's right there.
Yeah, Yeah, it's right out there. And it's like one of the top 3 or 4 schools in California. To some people, it's a huge deal. I would like to say it's a huge deal, but the problem that I found that I'm still getting over was that when I was in those spaces of being educated, I found it an issue because when I went back to the places with my friends who weren't educated, it was like a thing where I was not trying to make them feel bad because I was in a higher education level, but they felt bad. So in turn, I felt bad for being in educated, and they were not receiving the same education. So as a Black man, I think it's really hard sometimes to really like divulge from your old ways because you seen as trying to act like you're better, quote unquote, than people when you try to really better yourself. And I don't know, dog. I don't know how to explain that to make people feel better about themselves. I don't even know if it's my job to make you feel better about myself. At this point, I don't. I'm like, whatever, bro. If you feel bad, then I don't know what to do for you anymore.
Well, my experiences and what I learned from situations like that is just like a lot of the times it's just insecurity, and a lot of the times it's just like sometimes your peers can't handle that y'all all come from the same place, and you went a different route than they did, and things tended to work out for you, and it didn't necessarily work out for them in a particular route that they went, or if they try to go the same route that you went, sometimes it doesn't necessarily, the outcome is not the same as your outcome. So it just festers frustration, anger, and a little bit of insecurity on top of that. And instead of really understanding who they are as an individual and digging deep inside, they rather lash out on the thing that they feel insecure about, you know? So that's the best way that I can explain it. You know, also, you know, when you go to other places and you do things like go to a university, graduate, or if you go out the country, or if you go to different cities and locations, you always have to have an open mind. And a lot of the times I feel that our peers really don't have, you know, especially as an African-American and male in the United States, it's like, it's hard for you to have an open mind because you've been indoctrinated with a lot of ignorance. And not saying that it's their fault. It's not our fault at all. It's just the way the system is structured to keep us oppressed mentally. Because yes, we're physically free. Yes, we can do all these things. And then you run into these individuals who are not African Americans. You know, they could be from Africa, like they could be from Senegal, they could be from Nigeria, they could be from Ghana. And then there's other people that might be from the Middle East, or people from Southeast Asia, or from Europe, or you know, Mexico, South America, or whatnot. They look at us like, "What's your fucking problem?" They're not being indoctrinated. They're not being oppressed mentally, because it's a mental game, especially when you get older. You can't always use your fist. You can't always be shooting at niggas. You can't always be whooping on niggas and shit, because it's a mental game. You know, this shit is chess, not checkers. You know, if you want to do checkers, man, that's for people who are underage. You know, you 18 and under, 19, 20, 21, you can do checkers, you know, but once you get over 21, man, it's the shit, you got to change the dynamics in the way you think and how you react to stuff. And I had to learn that the hard way, because I had a hell of a temper, you know?
Yeah.
I was, you know, I didn't necessarily go to college, but I did join the Army, you know, and I did my schooling through the Army, and I went to college after the Army. You follow what I'm saying? Because I didn't have the means to actually finance myself and get loans and all that, because I grew up really poor. You know, my mother was a single parent. You know, my dad really wasn't around. You know, he had his own vices and situations that he had to deal with. You know, my mom came from a third world country, even though she's African descent. She, you know, she comes from the Caribbean. She came here when she was 13. So it's a little bit different for me. My situation was different. Now, I always said, okay, well, I don't want to be in this type of situation. I don't want to be like, you know, and there's nothing. I love my father, but it's just his lifestyle. I just didn't want to have that be a part of who I am. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about it is that sometimes when you elevate and you start living differently and you're exposed to different things, even with your family, their own insecurities can be taken out and lashed out on you when they're supposed to love you. And sometimes, you know, it's just out of confused love, confused admiration for what you're doing, and they just lash out because it's just like their situation. They wish they were in your shoes, you know. And at the same time, it's like you want to help everybody, but physically, mentally, you can't. It's impossible.
It's impossible. You know? Thank you for actually segueing into my next point, the helping everybody, because that was where I realized, I said, okay, all right, well, in my head, how I was able to deal with it was that God has blessed me because I'm the oldest of 3 kids. I am the first. I am not even the first man. I am the first person on my father's side of the family, whole family, graduate from college. So it was one of those things where I had exceeded. Oh, by the way, also, I have no children. That was a big thing too. Everyone in my family, by the age of 21, elder-wise, had at least 1 or 2 kids.
Right.
So I didn't went off to college. I don't have any children. I'm like breaking this mold. And now I'm like, well, God has blessed me. So it's time for me to give back. And I did it. But then I realized something. My giving in some ways only hurt because I started kind of picking up where some people needed to fall. Does that make sense? Like I put too much on my back to be like, hey, you know what? Because you didn't get the same opportunities as me, I'm going to carry this load for you. And you know what? And through seeing me go what I go through, you should figure it out. And then I realized the hard way. No, that is not how people work. You can't carry them. You can assist. But then I had to realize one of the hardest things I did when I talked about keeping it real, I had to keep it real with myself. Some of these people really had to go. I had to cut them off. And that was when, like, not even just like family members, but just good. Because I'm a transplant. I'm from Tennessee, but I've been living in Cali since I was 14 years old. So California is my home at this point. So I basically gained a family of friends and people out here that when I got up to 25, I was like, damn, I gotta let y'all go. Similar to what you were saying, upbringing wise, it wasn't that we were born into poverty. My family, we weren't born into generational wealth, which is pretty much.
I think that's like 97.8% of the African American population.
Yeah,
that's actually descendants of slaves.
And definitely, I'm some descendants of some slaves, born and raised, family members from Memphis, Tennessee, grandmother from Louisiana, grandfather from Mississippi. Do the math on that. Like, there's no way they were not slaves. Right. So
my dad's side, they come from Alabama, rural Alabama at that. You know what I'm saying? There's particular where they're from. There's a graveyard that has my descendants for over, I think, 225 years that are in grave sites there. Or 200 years or so. I could go there and look at my great grandfather's grave.
Same. My family, Hernando, Mississippi. It's a small town. My grandfather was my great grandfather was just lucky enough to be a black person allotted land after the Civil War. Like those are rare situations you don't really hear black people talk about. But with that, we were nothing but laborers. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't in my family's dynamic to, I don't want to say be more than what we were, because I don't like saying that. I don't know what we were supposed to be. We are who we are. But I'll tell you this, the cards were not made up for us to be successful. I will say that. So when I got here in Cali and I got around people like yourself, I'm not gonna lie, as we talked about by my time in Davis, it was a little eye-opening. I didn't feel like I belonged to be around, and I hate saying it like this, but I didn't feel like I belonged to be around black people who were so articulate. I'll say it like that because I don't want to say educated, because everybody's educated. There's street smart, there's book smart, there's
there's different forms of education. I got you.
Education. But like the way these people are articulating themselves, I didn't feel like I belonged. And that was probably one of the biggest things now that I'm 30 is like breaking down that mold for black kids that I talk to is like, bro, you belong in whatever space that you ended up in. You know what I'm saying? Just because you don't see anybody from Memphis or you sound differently or, you wear different clothes, I don't know. You belong to be there. But I think that's really hard for black kids because, well, I'll say now maybe it's a little bit eye-opening because of with the internet and, people with representation. But man, I'm talking just almost 10 years ago when I was at Davis, I didn't have no black folks on no damn pamper. Like when no black people riding them bikes, you know what I'm saying? So it was crazy. It was like, I kid you not. If people really want to look this up, I was a part of what's called a transfer automatic guarantee. The schools in California needed black people so bad. Yeah. They said, listen here, little nigga boy. If you get a GPA of 3.0, we will let your ass in this school. We don't care. We just need black folks so bad. And luckily, it was just right place at the right time. I just happened to be there. And that's how I got into school. I know a lot of people like, well, how'd you get in? I was like, fool, I literally just went to JC and just got a 3.0 and and that's what I'm trying to tell black people is that I won't say they need us in the sense of how they will show, but they definitely want us when they want us. And
there's resources out there for us, period.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not going to always tell you about all of them. You have to dig on your own.
Thank you, because that was the point I was going to get right into. Because that program, no one came up to me and said, "Hey, Keith Jr., look at this program to get you into this good school." No. I was a football player, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, I was a football playing ass individual. You couldn't have told me shit. I was going to the NFL. I was going to make millions of dollars. I was going to stiff on them. I was going to do all that shit. And you know what happened? None of it. None. I didn't stiff. I stiffed on my ass right into a JC college with a bad leg and like 10 concussions. Because this is before CTE and people like sitting people out. So you got a concussion. When I was playing football, your brain was just rattled. Okay. But I say all that to say this. I had to quit football. I had to go into a guidance counselor, sit down and say, I just played football for 16 years of my life. I wanted to go to the NFL. I'm no longer going. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do with my life. Literally.
And that's a lot of black males in this country. Like, I think that society puts the emphasis on us to play sports, or to be entertainers, or, everybody has the rap dream, like me personally, me getting into this whole creative space of me doing music and whatnot. I didn't come into it with the mentality of, I'm going to be a platinum artist. I'm going to be the biggest nigga out. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be that. No, I came into it with, this is something that I like to do. I think this is cool. And I have a little bit of talent in it. I am not the best rapper. I am not the best beat maker, producer, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But I can hold my own. And I feel that I have something to say. And that something to say can contribute to anybody who's listening in their lives. Hopefully they can connect. Like you were saying before, like it's certain things that we're not expected to do or know how to do. Like the other day I was having a conversation and I was just kind of casually talking about some shit that I had to do in my backyard because I have to, there were some trees that were down for just a fire break. So, you have that space around if there's a fire that catches around your property or whatever. And I'm like, well, this tree's been here for a while. I got an estimate from a person and they want X amount of thousands of dollars to get rid of this shit. I said, man, I'll go buy a chainsaw and do this shit myself. Because I know how, I had never used a chainsaw in my life, but my life experiences prepared me for that, So it's just like, well, if this motherfucker can use a chainsaw, I can use a chainsaw. You know what I'm saying? And I bought my motherfucking shit and I knocked down and did my own work and it only cost me $500 total.
Thank you. That is my next thing I wanted to get into, because just like what you just brought up, that is what you call life experience and life lessons. So when I quit playing football, here was the problem. And this is the problem. I know you're going to know what I'm talking about, is that when I quit playing football, my real life started. Okay. Because my whole life was about a dream. That was a pipe dream. And I did not take the time to look at life lessons and life experiences because I was going to the NFL. Okay. See, at the time when I should have been learning traits and skills and things like that, I was too busy trying to study football, which is not a problem. I want people to know something too. I have no problem with no one saying they want to play football or wanting to make music or do whatever you want to do. But the one thing that I want to point out that you just said is that you had life experience. You did not pick up a chainsaw, but you had life experience to be able to do it. Life is all about living and giving yourself experiences. If you keep doing the same things that your homies are doing in the neighborhood or that you grew up seeing or that you only know, you have no life experience. You only know.
I saw a quote from an investor that said, "Show me your friends and I'll show you your future."
Exactly. I just had that conversation with my girl about perception being reality. And, it was a small tidbit. She talked about how she didn't like how people could be judged by their friends. And I said, get over it. Okay. I don't care what you say. You can be the nicest person in the world. If you hang out with them people, you are those people. I'm 30 years old now. I no longer go, well, maybe I could be different than my friends. No, I'm not.
Nah.
People I think with are the people I'm going to be with. Okay. And the cool thing I like about you being self-efficient and going to get that chainsaw and doing it yourself, it takes me back to what I talk about as black men is like, yo, fam, in life, especially in our lives, there are times when we just want to take this thing by the wheels. As you said, chestnut checkers. Even if they didn't teach you the game.
My thing is this: if I can shoot a 50 cal, if I can strip down a M4 or AR-15 or whatever the fuck y'all want to call it. You know what I'm saying? If I could go to war and I could survive all this shit, what the fuck is a chainsaw? And it's a lot of niggas that's scared to use chainsaws. They like astounded. Nigga, you know how to use a chainsaw? It's like, yeah, nigga, I know how to use a chainsaw, nigga. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, even if you don't have the life experience, go to fucking YouTube.
YouTube, thank you.
Tells you everything, bro.
Go to YouTube.
Yeah.
But you see, but then again, this is where, okay, so I've been building all this up to get around to this point. This is where I came into the problem, and I had to sit with myself, because I went from being non-informed to being informed, to going back to try to help the informed, to get into a point where I was really, really angry. And I was like, you know what? I can't save you Negroes. So I stopped helping. And then I got on a train and I had to check myself, because I found myself being in the category where people who are informed, sometimes they get a little high-headed and they're like, well, if y'all niggas knew how to do this, or y'all niggas need to get on my level. And it was like,
I don't never say no shit to nobody like that, because that's belittling people, because we've all came from we've all came. All right. So look, I read this book by Jordan Peterson, the 12 Rules to Life, I think it's called, or whatever. Right. So, you know, everybody doesn't know how to do something. When you're a baby, you don't know how to walk. You learn. You don't know shit as a kid. And as a teenager, oh man, when you're 19, 18, 17, oh, you think you know every fucking thing. It's like you got the hang of the shit. I look back at it in retrospect, I was dumb as fuck when I was that young, bro.
Hey, dumb as a motherfucker. Dumb as a motherfucker. 18, 19, pooch.
Yeah, nigga, I thought I knew everything, man. I didn't know shit.
Nothing. And that's where I came into my problem, because even, you know, I even just as early as last year, I had to get checked. My man Mitch from Are You Serious podcast, shout outs to him. He had to tell me, like, you know, I was making little videos on IG, right? And, you know, I was just being my quirky pooch self, just, you know, being myself. And one day he told me, he was like, yo, you choosing violence. And I'm like, what? And he like, yo, you choosing violence. And I'm like, what you talking about? And he was like, you know, you out here telling people like, well, I can do it, why can't you? Don't get mad at me. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, yo, fam, I never looked at it like that. I got into a place where I became so good at who I was and so comfortable with who I was, I started discrediting other people's insecurities. And that's a big thing. And that's why I'm gonna get into the next point with you. It's very touchy, but I just have to say it. Obviously, we have a problem in the Black community when it comes to gun violence, as far as Black men on Black men. But it is difficult now for me, especially to be in a place to be like, hey, fam, I'm not finna flaunt. I'm not finna showboat. I'm not finna do whatever term you want to use, because motherfuckers be mad insecure and motherfuckers be mad sensitive. And who am I to know on the day where I'm feeling myself looking good, feeling good, whatever it is, I step on the wrong toes. And now I'm in a situation where violence is occurring. And so, again, when you come around to being educated, you got to also watch out that education and how you're using up on the people, on other people, because they will take that as a threat. I have found that.
Some people just don't like you just because. Yeah. Sometimes there's no way around that. You could be minding your business and somebody's not going to like you for whatever the fuck the reason's going to be. True. They might hide it. They might have animosity. And some of them would just outright be like, fuck you, nigga, I don't like you. It's like, okay, well, hey, man, sorry for disturbing you. I'm going to go this way. I hope you know, stay blessed. And that's it. You know, there's nothing else to say.
But Levert, you gonna be a punk. If you walk away from a fight, you're gonna be a punk. You gonna let them punk
well, see,
you
that goes back to the whole thing. This is chess, not checkers. It's a mental thing when you get to a certain age. You know, call me whatever you want to call me. I know me. I know that I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna be comfortable. I don't know what your situations is like, because I know that people that are focused on bettering the quality of their life, they're not trying to beef. They're not trying to funk. They're not trying to have negative resistance with other individuals, because they want to live long and enjoy that shit. They want to be with their kids. They want to, you know, be with their family. They want to live long and enjoy the fruits of their labor. And that's what I'm all about. You know, I'm not trying, you know, I don't need no, you know, negative resistance. Now, am I a punk? No, you know, I'll walk away. But if you put your hands on me or you try to fuck with me, bro, that's a totally different situation.
That's a whole different situation. That's a whole different situation. And that's where the portion of where you come back to Chestnut Checkers. Thank you for the title of the episode, by the way. Chestnut Checkers becomes a huge thing, because I had to learn, if I walk away, I am walking away with my life. If I stay and fight, I am staying and fighting for one thing that I do not need in this situation. That's pride. I, as a man, have learned that let me back this up. I was a very prideful person at one point in my life. If you go back and listen to
I still am.
You know, I was just gonna say, and truth be told, I still am. I still am. I talk to my girlfriend about this all the time. Like sometimes she asks me questions, and I'd be like, I'm gonna be real with you. I cannot answer that right now because my pride is going to answer. Not the actual answer I want to give, but the prideful me is going to answer. And right now, I ain't got time for it because I can't answer it without my pride. And so that's what I learned when I, as a person who had an attitude problem, is that my pride was getting in the damn way. It was just so like, man, I couldn't progress because I would just get so proud of things or prideful about things that it would be like, well, like, if you don't like it, my nigga, the fade is outside and we can do whatever the fuck you want to do about it. And I don't give a fuck. And it was like Pooch, we don't even have to go that way. Like, you don't even have to do that. Because honestly, that nigga don't want them problems anyways. But see, you when you have a certain type of attitude about yourself, you have to realize, as you said, chestnut checkers. Some people just popping off at the mouth. And some people really do want problems. But 9 times out of 10, most people just popping off at the mouth. Right. You don't have to settle this, man. You can just leave it alone, But again, having all that pride, I ain't hearing none of that. You know what I'm saying? All I heard was that, motherfucker, you said some crazy, and it's time for me to check your ass, and that's that. It took me a many of unsolicited community service events to make me realize. That's all I'm gonna say. That you should probably leave this pride shit alone. So go ahead.
Another thing too, I just want to interject real quick.
No, you're good.
Like, a lot of the times, if a situation does pop off and you have an individual that has an issue with you and they want to get kinetic with it, violently, and something happens to them from fucking with you, all they're gonna do is call the police. And you're going to be the one.
Thank you.
In the situation.
Thank you.
Why did you do that? Because of this. It's just like, oh, well, we're going to have to arrest you or do whatever. It's just like, so it's like, it honestly, like, it's a lose-lose situation.
It's not even worth
it. Not only did you whoop this bitch nigga's ass, he going to call the police and he going to go tell. You see what I'm saying? Like, if a nigga comes up to you and, they want to firefight, they pull a gun on you and you pop their ass, bro, they're going to go tell. And it's your fault. But they didn't see how they were fucking with you. So that's why it's just best to be like, let these ignorant niggas have they fucking glory. If their ego is pumped up by talking shit and running their mouth, let them. Just don't put your fucking hands on me, man. That's it.
That's it. That's all I ask for, and that's all I pray for when I come in situations like that. And that's for anybody who's listening to us right now that's younger. Hell, even if you older, I don't give a damn. It's just one of those things where, listen, crime don't pay. I'm just gonna tell you right now, especially when you're black. I mean, do what you do. I mean, we all do it, but you just have to understand situations that become physical. 9 times out of 10, they never gonna really listen to what it was and why it was that you were treated that way. And they're just gonna throw you in jail. So that's just my. I've spent my time too much around jails to tell you how much of a waste of time it is. It is literally as
my mom used to work at San Quentin, man. And she used to tell me stories all the time when I was little about how fucking crazy it is in there. And she's like, that's not a place for you.
No.
At the same time, don't be no bitch. But at the same time, like, you don't want to end up there.
You don't want to go there. No. Right. But then again, I will say to kind of to get back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier about ignorant shit. It is sometimes it feels like as a black man, jail is like literally a pipeline. Because of ignorant shit. I'm going to just be honest with you.
And that's why they feed you that shit on TV. That's why they feed you that shit on black shows, the networks, Instagram, black Twitter, all that other shit. There's some positive things about black Twitter, but there's also real ignorant negative shit too.
Yeah. Me and you both are pretty heavy on Twitter. I know I use Twitter at least once or twice a day. I definitely see you on there at least once or twice a day. And but that's what I'm saying. But how do you find the outlet when you are in ignorance? That is one of the hardest things I find to be difficult for these kids nowadays, because the outlet for me when I was in ignorance was that luckily I had a foundation of parents who were just like, listen, like my mother's side of the family, neither one of her parents graduated from high school. Neither one. You know what I'm saying? Like they were just some laboring black people. My dad's side of the family, they graduated from high school, but again, like laboring. They did not want They didn't have the means, to do better than what they were able to do at the time because it was 50s, 60s growing up in Memphis, Tennessee. My parents kept me away from ignorance, but exposed me to the ignorance. You said you were a father earlier. How are you going to now, like, because the cameras is everywhere, social media is everywhere. How do you keep these Black kids away from like being ingrained in ignorance and insecurities all day, dog? I don't know how you do that. How do you do that?
Well, I really don't shelter them from that. I just do as much dialect as possible with them and show them my perspective, ask them their perspective. Hey, what do you think about this? Why do you think that way? Well, I think this. What do you think about what I think? You know, always keep the conversation, and you know, this works for me. I always keep my I always engage in dialogue with my kid, you know, so they don't end up in a situation where they have no knowledge of what they're getting themselves into. Because at the end of the, you know, when it's all said and done, bro, when they're grown and all this other stuff, an adult is going to do what they want to do anyway.
Facts.
You just have to basically see, I mean, from my perspective, you see them with the things and, you know, cause and effect. If you do this, this will happen. And this is why this will happen. So when they are adults, they have better options of decision making, you know, and I also try to cultivate emotional intelligence too, because you don't want to get somebody to drag you out of your character where you do something emotionally and react and then you regret it and you can't take it back. You know what I'm saying? Because I made those mistakes from coming up, you know, like, you know, I was growing up in Marin City, growing up in the Bay and shit, you know, Richmond, Vallejo and shit. Like you know, there's a lot of times that I emotionally react off of stuff, but that was because inside I was hurting, you know, and instead of me dealing with those emotions, I would just lash out in anger. It's like, you know, I get in fights, get suspended from school, you know, fucking around playing with pistols and shit at 13. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just different. You know what I'm saying? So, I try to cultivate that.
But you know what? I'm glad you got to that term because I was going to ask you. I was going to say it, but you said it out loud. You out here? You got ESP or something, bro? The hell wrong with you, man? You out here reading my mind?
Man, you know, it's fresh air up here, man. You know, in the trees. Like, hey, you ever heard that term, tree huggers? And they make fun of it. But man, trees, man, they can really ground you. You know what I'm saying? And they have some type of connection. Like, it really relieves a lot of stress. Like being in an environment like that. I don't know. That's just for me. I can only speak for myself.
Listen, one of the things I learned, because what I wanted to talk to you about was emotional intelligence next, and you brought that up, was that exactly being in different environments, like in the forest or near trees or in complete silence, I think is one of the reasons why a lot of times Black people have a problem with comprehension of different things, because we don't really get exposed. At least I'll say this, in my background, being in areas that weren't loud was not the norm. There was always some loud ass noise, whether there was music, whether that was
and that fucks with your psyche, bro. It fucks with your brain.
Literally does, because
it can cause mental health issues too.
It does, because what many people, at least if they know by now, if you've been following my story, is that I was a raging alcoholic in my 20s. Like it started in my teens, like most people, and just went downhill. I think it started when I was 18 and it didn't end until I was 27. It was crazy. It was like one of the craziest 9 years of my life. But one of the things I realized was when I was getting sober from alcohol, one of the first people I met who had the same problem, one of the first things he told me was, you got to sit in the darkness. And I was like, what? Yeah. He was like, you got to sit in the darkness. And I was like, I don't get what you mean. He was like, you got to go sit down, turn off all the music, turn off everything, and sit in the darkness, and you got to hear your thoughts.
Yeah,
and even
self-reflection, inner reflection.
You know? Even me saying that out loud still sounds a little woo-woo to me. Like, I'm still working on that with myself. But at the time, that motherfucker was speaking Chinese. I was like, man, what the fuck is you talking about? Sit in the darkness? Go sit down? Like, nigga, what?
Yeah, because if any other niggas see you doing that and they not on that cognitive level yet, they gonna look at you like, oh, this nigga's a weirdo.
Yeah, this nigga crazy.
Weirdo ass nigga.
Nigga, why are you sitting in the dark? Like, what the fuck is you doing? And so you know, being a Black person, I'm like, okay, I made sure everybody was asleep before I like went, and it was dark. So it was actually obviously dark. So, you know, we already in the darkness. And he told me, he was like, bro, if you can't find like a place to just be like in a room by yourself quiet, wait until you go to bed, turn off your television, don't turn your TV on, don't turn on no music, don't do nothing, just completely make your room as pitch dark as possible. And that's what I did. I made my room pitch dark as possible. And I'm gonna be real with you, Levert. I could only sit in that room for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
My first time doing inner reflection work, I couldn't do that. That was
then you get anxiety, you want to start moving around and all kind of shit. The voices is just overcrowding your mind, but eventually I'm sure you got it together and you mastered that.
Yeah. But it was scary. It was scary as hell. And I love sharing that story with anybody, anytime, especially when you come someone who talks about emotional intelligence, because I know they exactly know what I mean, because that's a practice of emotional intelligence. I had to do the inner work, the shadow work to figure out like, yo, like Pooch, why do you always have to be drunk? Or like, why do you always feel like you have to be socially out? And like, why can't I go to sleep without something in my veins? You know what I'm saying? Like I couldn't be drunk, high, something. I had to be something. And that first time sitting in my inner darkness was like, it was mind blowing, because what it made me realize was my elders hadn't done that. I had people in my family who were elders who, you know, I virtually looked up to, that I was like, you ain't never sat by yourself. And the first person, you know, and I'm not trying to throw them underneath the rug, you know, but it was my pops. I had to sit my pops down and I was like, listen, man, I'm not judging you. I'm not saying you a bad person. I'm not saying anything's wrong, but you need to chill. You need to learn how to chill. Because obviously, you know, you turn around and I'm sure you probably felt this before, like, you know, whatever your situation was with your father, you got antics from him. Like you got some type of antics from somebody that raised you, your pops or your mom or whoever it was.
And man, you know, you split your DNA with your parents, you know, so there's some of your mom in you and there's some of your dad in you, regardless of what sex you are, you know. So, you know, you're gonna, if you're a man or a young man, you're gonna have traits like your dad. It's just to figure out which traits are you gonna highlight in your life. The good traits, because I don't give a fuck how fucked up your dad might be. I don't give a fuck how fucked up your mom might be. There's good in them. Yeah. And you just have to find out what's good in them and pull it out of yourself, because they're a piece of you.
You just read my mind, brother. Because that was exactly what I had to come to the conclusion when my father was that I was highlighting. I grew up with my dad. I will say that. But the thing was, my dad had me when he was 22. So my dad will tell you himself, he made a boatload of mistakes, you know, and it wasn't like my dad like did anything drastic. Luckily, he wasn't hitting my mom or had a drug problem, but my dad was 22. How do you raise a kid when you're 22? You don't really know how, so you don't
know what the fuck you're doing. You know, there's parents out there, you know, that had their kids at 19, 24, 22. You know, you trying to figure out what the fuck you got going on. You know, you don't know what, you know, you barely know who you are. Now you got a life to take care of and help them figure out who they are.
And that was where I
who you are. That's like a conflict of interest.
And that is where I had to get to my own sense, because I was drinking because I was blaming myself and indirectly blaming my dad for certain things that I felt were shortcomings. But then I had to sit down and be like, he was 22, bro. He was 22.
I had to come to that realization too. You know, I had to come to that epiphany because, you know, my dad had me at 24. You know, my mom had me younger than that. So they really didn't know what the fuck they was doing.
Yeah, didn't know what he was doing. And so when I sat in the darkness, I brought my pops around me and I was like, listen, man, because it was a thing. Like me and him had a chat. And I was like, yo, I'm not trying to get at you, Dad, but I'm telling you, we got a problem here. And luckily, you know, my dad now in his 50s embraced the fact that, like, you know, I was older. So he, you know, I think being older definitely helped too. Like he realized that obviously I've lived some life, and he was like, yeah, man, you might be right. And, you know, my dad's on a new path. He's back in school. You know, he's getting his education.
And well, that's dope that your dad even listened to you, because there's some people's fathers that won't even listen to him. Some people's mothers don't listen to him.
I have to take that in consideration.
They only hear what they want to hear.
I have to take that in consideration.
And if it doesn't stroke their ego of their perception of themselves, they're not fucking hearing it, bro.
You know, and that was one thing I had to take in consideration too, because for the longest time I felt that way. I was like, y'all not listening to me. And I had to remember, like, I'm their 27, 28-year-old son trying to explain something to them. And luckily, I'm not going to say like my parents listen to what I say, because obviously it's a discourse. We're adults. We go back and forth. But at least there's a notion of like, okay, well, maybe my son does know what he's talking about. And that's another thing too, because I realized that I'm lucky because not every one of my black friends has that type of dynamic with their parents. Some of them
Right.
can't even tell their mama that they didn't like what they said.
Yeah,
like some
yeah.
you can't even tell your mama mama, you was wrong.
They're gonna be, they'll be very dismissive.
Yeah, you're very wrong, or your mom, I didn't like that. And so that again, that goes into emotional intelligence. But I find that very scary because, unfortunately, and this isn't me judging, not everybody gets gets to that ground. Not everybody gets to that calling. And that's where I come back to my point where I was like, yo, I'm never going to use my education as a tool against other people, because you use the word that I didn't even think about. That's belittling. And I never thought about it like that. When I was telling people get on my level and all this stuff and all that, I'm thinking I'm telling, get your, come on, get up, like get with it. And it took,
People don't know how, and if they're in that situation and they can't see their way out of that fog, you're disrespecting them, from their perspective.
Yeah.
And the thing about perspective is nobody can tell you how to perceive something. You have to perceive it for yourself. That's why they say, have like-minded individuals around you.
Yeah.
Because if you have like-minded individuals around you, you can all perceive the same thing. Even if it's off a little bit, you can still kind of reel them in. And then they'll be like, oh, okay, I see what you mean. You see what I'm saying?
No,
right. Vice versa.
Vice versa. And again, I'm so happy I'm at a point in my life where I was able to receive that news. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. When he told me the first time, the first thing in my head was like, that ain't my fucking problem. Like, that ain't my fault. And I instantly saw the immaturity in that statement. Because one thing I will say about being or articulating yourself or educating yourself, one thing you have to take in consideration that now you have the burden of being educated. So
here's another thing too.
Yeah, go ahead.
That thought.
Yeah.
Also remember, there's a lot of people that go to college and they get educated in a particular discipline. Yeah. Doesn't necessarily mean that they have the intellectual capacity to do other things or to interact in society or see things from your perspective.
True.
Because, memorization, because if you think about it, schools is just basically what you can remember. You read some shit, what you can remember, and they test you on your remembrance. They're not really teaching you something.
No.
They're trying to make you remember some shit.
That's it.
And intellectual or intellect comes from two places in my perspective. It comes from your mind and your emotions and how you be able to work those two things together. Because sometimes somebody could be heavy, like kind of, for example, weightlifting. Yeah. There's always a joke from people from the South, the Midwest, or the East Coast talking about West Coast niggas don't lift weights on their legs. Yeah. And they got the California body, skinny legs and big upper body. So you have to work everything, just like you have to work all the muscles of your body from top to bottom. Same thing when it comes to your intellect. You got to work your intellect and you got to work your emotions. And you got to work them and you got to basically fuse them together so you can be whole, And then also you got to work on your health, meaning your physical fitness too. So go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. You were actually leaning me into the next section I was about to go into was taking care of yourself. Because you were saying some people don't know, certain things. And that was what I was going to get into, was like taking care of yourself is going deeper into just knowing that something. And now in my head, you have the power to either improve a situation or manipulate it. Because I know how to take care of myself in a certain extent now that I know some people don't. And it's just not my power to try to manipulate them anymore. Because I see, you see it every day with the government, with many things. It's just like, yo, you can influence people to do what you want with the power of education or the power of being informed or the power of being articulate. So you are now pressing people to do what you want. And I don't know. I think it's a very scary world, because even with being like in a form of being a Black person who finds themselves to be enlightened, I think it's also really scary because I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. Every enlightened Black person I know does not live very long. Historically.
Hey man.
Historically.
Man, I don't know what that is.
Black people do not live long.
When you speak truth to power, man, you become a threat, and I don't know how many of your viewers are familiar with, Minister Farrakhan, but a lot of the shit that he says, he's telling you the game,
I was at the Million Man March, I think it was the 20-year anniversary. I was there. And one of the things I find so funny about the Honorable is, as you said, he does give a lot of game. But the hard part about game is that, man, I mean, that man had like 30 people with him on security. You know, like, yeah, he cannot be by himself.
Come on, man. I mean, he saw his peer murdered, bro. You know, and then come to find out later, to the general population, he probably already knew, but to the general population, it's like the FBI had something to do with that shit, bro. Come on, man. So it's like, what the fuck do you do? It's just like, as a black man in America, or as an African American man in African American person in America, period. It's like, bro, you can't. How can you trust the system when they have a history of destroying you? How can you? And then now it's so cold that they don't really have to do it. They got Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and ourselves that does all the dirt for them, and they could just be like this. Hey, man, y'all did that to y'all. We didn't have anything to do with that.
And that's where I wanted to close this. Well, within the last 20 minutes, can I keep you for 20 more minutes, my guy, before I let you go? Can I keep you for 20 more minutes? Okay, cool. Okay. And that's where I want to get into my next portion. They don't have to kill you no more. You know, they used to have to assassinate you. They used to have to, you know, catch you outside and shoot you.
Now they're using the tools to destroy yourself.
Exactly. And that is the hardest part I find about when you are African American or black, whatever term you want to use. When you are articulate in this country, the clock is ticking, my brother. The clock is ticking. They gonna figure, like, you keep enlightening enough people, they gonna figure out a way to get your ass out this paint. And this is what I find the most disturbing is, you better be flawless, because if you got one,
here's the thing. Here's the thing with that, and I know what you're saying. A lot of the times they get up there, their standard is, you know, power standard is that I don't have this dirt on my record, but there's nobody in this country, I don't give a fuck what race you are, that hasn't done something that's going to be unsavory to a group of people. Period. Even if what might be morally inadequate for one group of people or one person might not be for the other. So they're going to point the finger at that. You did this. But it's like, wait a minute. But y'all doing this. Y'all allowing this. So how the fuck can you judge me? You know? But then there's an argument of somebody who's just doing something that's actually destructive to society and the whole totality of society as itself. It's just like, well, I could do it because they did this, you know, and it's just a back and forth argument. So it's just kind of like, there's really no way around that particular situation now. It's not like in the 1950s when, you know, in 60s, where America tried to portray themselves to the outside world through television and media and advertisement, you know, or propaganda, like America's like this is our standard. You stay, you know, you don't do this before marriage, or you don't do this in society. You don't do that. You know, it's not like that. And even back then, motherfuckers had shit in the closet.
It wasn't like that back then, bro.
Yeah, they would get rid of you if you try to expose them.
Yeah, you know? But and so that's you know, you say the 50s and the 60s, and I'm not gonna age nobody, but I was nowhere born near the 50s and the 60s.
Neither was
but I got plenty. But I got plenty of family members, just like you do, who were born in the 50s, in the 60s. That was not that long ago. Okay. That was not that long.
It's funny because people make it think it is because we're in 2022. Like, the 90s wasn't that long ago. People think the 90s was hella long ago. The 80s wasn't that long ago. Because you got to think, you know, Malcolm and Farrakhan, you know, they were peers in the nation. They were around when Elijah Muhammad was living in the flesh, and then you know, there's Minister Farrakhan is still here today in 2022. So really think about that. There's, you know, he could tell you he's so filled with knowledge. You know what I'm saying? And people of his generation, you know, they're filled with knowledge and understanding of certain particular things that they've gone through. So they can actually, that's that bridge, you know, that people talk about. And it, like you said, it's really not that long ago.
It's really not that long ago. And that's where I want Black people to understand, or just, I mean, not even just Black people, but especially us to understand. It's just like, when we talk about how far we haven't come, just realize, brothers and sisters, it wasn't that damn long ago. Okay, it was not that damn long ago. I know because the pictures are in black and white, and they do that purposely, by the way.
Right.
And if you think I'm playing, go look it up. They actually purposely make those pictures in black and white for you to think it was that long ago. It's not.
No.
So it's like I never get. I don't want to say like I don't want to say I like am like no big deal. But when things occur to us, you know, when the George Floyd's, when the Trayvon Martin things occur to us, I'm like, I don't know what you expect from this country. They were blowing up little black girls in Alabama when my grandmother was in her 20s.
Look, man, like, yeah, exactly. And you got to think, like, people don't realize Tupac was born in what, 72? The nigga would have made what, 50 or 51 this year?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that. Come on, my nigga. Like, this nigga grew up. You know what I'm saying? In the late 70s, he can remember afros, platform shoes,
mama in jail,
college shit. You know what I'm saying? He remembers when crack moved in the 80s. Like, this is all. This is not too, you know, this is not that long ago, bro. Like you're saying.
My own father. This is so funny when I think about it. My own father was bused to his junior high school. Now, for you all who don't know the term bust, okay, because no one buses anymore, but it was a term or an act when segregated schools districts would take black kids out of their schools and put them in good schools, which are basically white schools, and allow the black kids to go to, it's only like 50 of them, okay? Had too many Negroes, and he was getting bused. And this was 1982, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
So when you say that racism died a long time, bro, this was just the 80s. My dad was just doing
racism ain't never died in this country. It just got quiet for a minute.
Yeah, that's it. Just got.
And the reason why I got quiet is because they were working on a whole new game plan and strategy and a whole new tactic. And that's when they exploded with the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the Twitters.
It's all
the reality shows, the housewife shits, all that fucking toxic drama on the network and shit.
Which is crazy to me too, because you take a show like you just said, like, so we can just fast forward. Fuck busing, because I could talk about that for hours. You just fast forward to today. The housewife shows, the reality television, the social media, the twerking, all these things. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pause something. I am not what you call a perfect man, okay? I have watched these things. Have I enjoyed the twerking video? Yes, I have. But what I will tell you,
here, man, I'm a man. I'm a man. So if you're going to shake your ass on the internet, I'm going to look. I'm sorry. I will. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to look. I might comment too. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm just coming to try to see what's up with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm a man. I'm a heterosexual man, bro.
Yeah.
I like pussy.
I like pussy too.
I'm a look.
But I just what catches me off guard though is the influx of how normalized certain things like that get. So with the last couple of minutes, I'm gonna just talk to you about normalcy, and I'm gonna let you tell the people where they can find you. Now, me and the good brother here have talked about a lot of things today. But what I want you all to understand is the one thing I realized about life that becomes funnier and funnier, and it just gets really funny to me, is that today is the day. I don't even say the day because I don't know when it's coming out, but today is a day in June of 2022. In somebody's life right now, this is the good old days. Someone is looking at this and thinking, "This is the good old days." You get what I'm saying? Like someone is really saying that shit. And me, like, this shit is terrible. This shit is there. Gas is $9.
Look, bro, imagine what's gonna happen in 40 years. Imagine what shit's gonna be like in 40 years in this country.
Thank you.
And who knows if China gonna be running and gonna have hegemony on the globe? Who knows? Because you know the way these motherfuckers is falling apart from the inside out. You don't know what the fuck's gonna happen.
I don't know what's gonna happen.
Shit, by 40 years, God might be back, bro.
Do you hear me? Because I'm gonna tell you, when my mom and daddy was little, they said by 2022 California was gonna be off in the sea. Okay, this motherfucker wasn't supposed to be here, and this motherfucker is still here. Okay, and that is exactly what I want to talk about with normalcy. Is that y'all have to understand? It's not the fact that I am trying to tell you all to do better or be better or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not preaching to nobody.
I'm not preaching to them.
I'm just speaking my truth and with my perspective.
But the thing is, at a certain point, all this shit just becomes normal. Okay. You have to realize that you are either finding yourself in your own truth and in essence going against the grain, or you just going with the show, man. And I'm not saying one is better than the other. One's better for me. One may be better for you. But I'm telling you right now, a lot of this shit ain't going nowhere. The reality shows ain't going nowhere. They already know how to make a buck. The twerking videos ain't going nowhere. They already know how to get you stuck. If they really wanted to get rid of shit, codeine wouldn't be around. But why they still got it? Bro, you don't need codeine. What do you need codeine for? In 2022, tell me right now, what the fuck do you need to drink codeine for? You don't. But there's
a lot of things that you don't need to do.
There's a lot of things.
Let's talk about marijuana too. Do you really need that shit? You know, I think a lot of people that are fucking with that has some type of situation going on with themselves. You know, and I'm talking about the people that are smoking regularly.
Yeah,
all the time. You because the thing you can have a glass of wine, but if you're drinking wine 4 glasses a day,
exactly.
Every day,
because I'll tell you like this, I have no problem with people who use marijuana, but exactly to the point I think you're getting to is that if you sitting here, bro, and you got to be high out your mind all day, you got to smoke before we eat, you got to smoke before we talk, you got to smoke right when you wake up, you getting agitated, you getting irritated, I got to smoke. And this is coming from a person who personally dealt with that himself. Like, I had to check myself. I was like, my nigga, you do not need to smoke, okay? You need to go sit your ass down. So, no, I agree with you right there, bro. You speaking to the choir. Now you are preaching to me because I definitely had to tell myself that. I had a homie tell me, he said, I shared something with him one time. He was like, this how you feel all the time?
Yeah, nah.
And I was like, damn, that must not be good, huh?
For example, right? You know, like there's a wine vineyard not too far from my house, like literally like down the street, right? Mm-hmm. I can literally go get wine. I joined the wine club. I can literally go there and get toasted every day, all day. I can sit there all day and just get toasted. But for what? Because first of all, I don't want to be buzzed all day. I have shit to do. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to put myself in a situation where it makes me non-productive. And some people can function like that, but you know, and more power to them. But for me, I can't do that, bro. I like to run my little 3 to 4 miles a day to make sure my cholesterol stays low, to make sure that I stay fit, you know, because I don't want to be older and having health issues and shit. Because that's the worst thing to be is to have health issues when you're older, bro. That shit sucks, bro.
And to keep 100, I ain't talking about nobody, so don't know everything I'm talking about them because I'm finna say something. Older is relative to what you've been doing with your body, okay? Because there are people who are 80 who look 50, and
exactly
there are 50 who
like
look
1%
80.
body fat. I mean, pecs banging these motherfuckers, doing chin-ups and going over the bar and all kind of
running marathons and shit. Okay,
I'm a young man and I still can't do that shit. And believe me, I exercise, bro. You know what I'm saying? I do dips. I bench press. I do squats. I run miles. And there's some shit that I be seeing a 60-year-old do. I be like, God damn, what the fuck is this nigga eating? I need to get on that shit.
Good. And that's where I say relative, because in life, man, all of us at this point, we all on borrowed time. I think if you over 25 years old, you've heard me say that a multitude of times. We're all on borrowed time. So what you want to do with this time is really your prerogative. Okay. All right. And if you're not taking care of you, oh, believe me, somebody gonna have to take care of you down the line. And I don't know if you want that. And I don't want that. I want to be able to take care of myself as long as possible.
It's nothing worse than burdening your seeds with taking care of you because you fucked off your health when you were younger, or you didn't make the right financial decisions. You didn't sacrifice and be like, okay, well, it would be selfish of me to put my children in this situation because I'm young enough to still do this. So at least when I get there, they'll have some time. I contributed to helping them help me, you know?
Yeah. But again, that again is not what most Black people are brought up to see. So that's when it's up to whoever you are in the family tree to say, hey man, I'm not going to do this. I'm not throwing no shade on nobody in my family, but you know, I have had family members who have passed away in their 50s from things because it just, they didn't have a healthy lifestyle.
My grandfather, my mom's mom, he died at 60 from emphysema, bro.
Wow.
Come on, man.
That's a smoking joker right there, boy.
Oh man, he used to drink like a fish and he used to smoke
Lord, it's 60 years old. But that's 30
now, you know, even back then, that was still young.
Yeah. Yeah, because people lived a lot older back in the day. Now niggas die a little younger now because niggas is mad unhealthy and they putting mad shit in our food and GMO bullshit. But you Papa and Mama generally live to be about 80, 90 years old, you know.
Right. You know, okay, so put this into perspective. I just told you about my grandfather dying, right? His mother, my great grandmother, outlived him. Yeah. My mother and I had to bury her, and she died at like almost 90.
Yeah.
You know, so, and nothing worse than having to bury your kid, man. That's fucked up.
Fucked up. So you have to think about how you taking care of yourself. Before we get out of here, you know, my brother, tell the people about your music, tell people about what you got going on, tell them where they can find you. You know all that jazz, bro.
Plug yourself. Got it. Okay, check this out. So Kenneth Laverd, KENNETH _LUVEERD. That's my handle for Instagram. My handle for Twitter is at LUVEERD. Facebook is Kenneth Laverd. I'm also on Spotify. I just dropped the EP on April 4th. It's called Buckshots, 5 bangers. Make sure you stream that. There's a YouTube channel coming soon, and I got some visuals for the project coming soon. So just stay in touch with me. Holler at me on all the platforms, you know, and just, let's just all build. That's pretty much what I got to say. And I appreciate you for letting me come up on your platform, and we having this very intricate conversation of two like-minded individuals, especially as Black men in America. This is great for us. I'm glad that I met you. I appreciate you, and stay motivated, stay positive, bro. And we gonna reconnect. Stay in touch, and we can always chop it up, man.
Yeah, man, definitely. See, this is what I love about my podcast. 3 years ago when I started this, never saw it like this, bro. I started this podcast 3 years ago in my parents' basement because I had gone through a very, very bad breakup, and also realized I had a drinking problem. Like it was like a combination of both. And to see this now break out, to be able to talk to people that I would have never been able to talk to had I not started it, and talk to people who are just as enlightening and as informative and doing good things in the world, bro, that just warms my heart. And wanting to be on the show. Like I wanted you on the show, but you wanted to be on the show too. So I was like, damn, that's dope. Like goes both ways, you know? And so I thank you, bro, because, you know, like I'm just a man trying to do some stuff. Just trying to, you know, make a way to find a way. Like no one in my family's ever had this type of direction. So it's like now after me, if anyone in my family wants to do something like this, they know it's possible or plausible because, you know, they seen me. So I'm sure you've seen that before. And so, you know, that's I just wanted to thank you again for having you on. All your links, I'll make sure they'll be down at the bottom. So y'all check them out. We'll have the links in the description so you can find my man. Again, go ahead. You got something to say?
One more thing. I got a website coming soon, www.kennethlaverd.com. It'll be up probably within the next 30 days or so.
Next 30 days. You know, I'll keep a lookout for it. And, you know, tag me in it so I can repost and reshare.
Definitely, bro. I'm going to always tag you.
Almost definitely, bro. As I told, I'm sorry, I didn't tell you. As I told my audience a long time ago, listen, man, support is free. Okay? Support is free. It don't take, like, that is one of the good things I will say that has came out of the internet. Is it has allowed me to be able to support people like my good brother Kenneth here, who is 6 hours up the street, and I'm 6 hours down the street with the ability of the internet, you know what I'm saying? And be able to branch out and be able to inform and now use each other's networks in a positive way. So I'm happy to support brother in any way, you know that for sure. But we're going to sign out of here. I'll have you back on sometime soon, man. You know, you can always call on me if you got some stuff you want to drop. You need some voices on something. You know, I do a little sexy voice, you know what I'm saying, with the little interludes.
Oh, man, we're going to put it together. Man. You know what? Next time I get in the studio and start working on another project or whatever, man, I'm definitely going to hit you, and I definitely need you on there.
Man, you know I got you, Kenneth. Thank you, brother. Until next time, y'all, we are out.
What's the name of Uncle Poochie's podcast?
6 Feet Under.
6 Feet Under podcast.